Welcome back to another little episode of the squat matrix. We're going to continue to use our block and our rock right here for some reaching, and we're going to really kind of twist up, load the butt and hip a little bit more with the thoracic spine, so a little bit more inclusion when it comes to that. And we're going to work on kind of our weight shifting patterns and diagonal directional kind of angles a second as well. So let's maybe mix it up just a little bit, and let's go to the left foot. What I want you to do is to go in kind of this RXX kind of position opposite of what we just did. Let's go after loading up so that lateral and posterior section of the lumbopelvic hip complex, as well as kind of the lateral trunk on its way on up to the ribs and the scapula. Let's go after kind of stretching and mobilizing all that tissue. So we have the thoracolumbar fascia in the back, a big diamond-like structure right here. Right in this region. That is woven together, and it's a super dense layer of connective tissue that's formed by the gluteus maximus, the lats, erector spinae, the quadratus lumborum, the internal and the external obliques, little erector spinae action in there. Let's go after kind of mobilizing all that tissue. That's a pretty gunky area. And I want to show you a couple things that'll go after the hip, and we'll go after the trunk at the same time. So I'm going to go in that RXX position. I'm going to go with an in sync right upper extremity reach, maybe about 90 degrees. And I'm going to go a left arm out of sync kind of side bend right here, which gives us a type 1 in sync for kind of the thoracic spine. So another few reasons why I like this guy right here, and some of the reaches progressively that we're going to get to with the funky angles in a second, is that it not only goes after thoracic spine, the lateral hip, and the trunk, it really helps to facilitate three-dimensionally how that pelvis and how the femur, those big thigh bones, are meant and designed to rotate in all dimensions in space right now. And so I love the rotation and the load forward. I love the load to the side, to the left. I love the kind of the right side bend of the pelvis here with that anterior kind of rotation, and I love the rotation to the left with the pelvis as it's going to the ground, as we're forced to control our center of gravity, as gravity is kind of mushing us on down. So I go with this kind of, to end range, go with some progressive oscillations, a little type 1 in sync. You can also go with a little type 1 out of sync. But what I'm going to show you now is kind of some of these frontal plane loadings, a little bit more transverse plane loadings, as well as sagittal, that'll kind of crank things up a little bit more. So in the last episode we went after kind of some pendy swings. We went after some pendy swings. Let's go after some reaches a little bit, and let's use the trunk a little more. So in this RXX position, with my right arm, I'm going to go with kind of a little frontal plane reach, and as I do that, I'm going to go with a little side bend to the right. A little side bend to the right as I shift my hips to the left. My left leg is pointed nice and forward. If I need a little help with that, it's almost going to be like a big bus steering wheel. I'll kind of turn and rotate it. So right arm is going down to the left arm is going overhead to the right. And I'm going to just kind of sink my butt down and back into the left hip. Into the left hip. If I want to go combination of kind of a little sagittal plane with the little transverse plane combos, I'm going to take both arms, I'm going to squat, and I'm going to reach down and outside in sync kind of that left foot and ankle right there. let's add some progressive oscillations with it. Let's add some progressive oscillations. Load up the old butt and the old hip right there. Maybe I'll go a little contralateral, which will load it up a little bit more. I can take that left arm then and kind of posteriorly take him up and overhead a little bit more. If I'm having trouble kind of rotating that pelvis forward, loading up the hip, loading up that posterior hip capsule. And so with that, I can take my hips and I can shift them to the left. I can shift them to the left and I can preset now with some rotation. I'll preset with a little rotation, and as I preset, sagittal plane, kind of progressive oscillation with the right arm and with the left, with a diagonal shift down and back, kind of to the side a little bit. We can add a little more rotation to that, and that here, pre-possession, preset, my hips and my trunk, sagittal plane here, taking my left arm and kind of oscillating in the transverse plane, which we're going to get to in an episode of Kinetic Linking Friday. Play around with those guys. I think you're going to enjoy those progressions. Have fun loading up the butt and the hip and playing around with your block and or your rock.